What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over my final predictions, expectations, all that stuff for the PlayStation Showcase. We don't get to do this too often, but it's so good to be doing a video like this. Now, really quickly, before I jump in, just want to say I will be co-streaming the event. I'm going to go live about an hour and a half before the event goes live as kind of like a pre-stream. So if you guys want to check out the channel, join, watch it live, I will have a blast. I really love watching these things with the community. The reception I've gotten is that people really like watching it with me, which is very good to hear. All right, enough boosting my ego. Let's talk about this thing. I want to start with kind of the Konami corner. It's the first thing that came into my head. I want to patent it, but it hasn't happened yet. I really think, and we've said this before, like Metal Gear has been a thing that's been spread around the news, right? It does seem like Metal Gear Solid 3's remake is going to be there. I'm going to still take it one step further. I've been saying I think at least Metal Gear and Silent Hill because of that. It's timed exclusive for PlayStation consoles, at least for Silent Hill 2. I think we're going to get a release date. And all indications kind of point that that game is going to release this year. So that'll be exciting. And then Metal Gear, I think the talk on the streets almost like maybe this could even close the event, something kind of big like this. So I really do believe both of these are going to be here. I've said Castlevania. The only reason I've said that is because if you're going to get 2 out of the 3 Konami, IPs, I imagine the third one would just kind of be there, but it doesn't have to. It could be at Summer Game Fest, and honestly, that kind of makes sense as well. One thing I assume we are not getting anymore is Mortal Kombat. So the long rumor is that this was tied to PlayStation in some way. Jez Corden said that. He was kind of like, he got one thing right, one thing wrong, seemingly, right? Because he called Mortal Kombat being announced in May. I think he even said like middle or late May. So he was kind of on the money there, but, it obviously happened on its own. And then now we know that it's going to have its gameplay at Summer Game Fest. So I don't see how it can be at the PlayStation Showcase. Could you do all 3? I suppose, but ultimately at this point, I don't think Mortal Kombat is going to be there. Obviously, Spider-Man, I did a whole video on Spider-Man, so I'll keep it short. I do think release date, I think all of it, like anything you can imagine that you would show for a promotion for a game. I think a trailer of some sort, I think gameplay, like a deep dive, like a 5 to 7 minute long, and I'm really willing to go that far. This is their biggest thing. This is, besides Final Fantasy 16, this is their next thing, right? So you could say, well, you got maybe an hour 15 minutes, and if you show, say, 10 minutes of Spider-Man with a trailer, with gameplay, with all that, that's quite a bit, right? That's like 8% or so of your entire show. I think it deserves it because it really is your big thing. If you're going to give any game that amount of time, I do think it would be Spider-Man 2. Rumor around the street, obviously, right? Ghost of Tsushima 2, Jeff Grubb says it's not going to be there. You can not believe him if you don't want to. That's totally cool. I kind of do believe him, so that is a little disappointing. I did think that Ghost would be like I thought that would be like the closing, right? Because you got Spider-Man. I think Wolverine will be there. We've talked about that here and there on the channel. I think Wolverine does make sense because you can't just do games, I think, this year. Again, it's been 2 years since the last showcase. I'm going to round up for that, right? It's been 2 years. Yeah, you're going to have the Stellar Blades of the world. You're going to have Spider-Man. You'll probably have Final Fantasy 16 again. But then you have to think about, okay, well, what about 2024? Now, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, that's definitely one of it. Now, that could come out later this year for all we know. But really, after that, what do you have? And that's not like, oh, they have nothing. I'm literally asking, what do you have? Like, show me what you have. So Ghost would have been, a good idea. But maybe in its place, the Cory Barlog game. This is something that I've been speculating for quite a bit, and it's starting to pick up steam, not like because of me or anything, but it's starting to pick up steam. I think that's possible. Cory Barlog's game, obviously separate from God of War. There's like 2 teams kind of working in that studio, and his game has been in the works for years, and like at least 3-4 years at this point. So could you tease it? Yeah, I think that could be the Ghost of Tsushima kind of equivalent. I mentioned Stellar Blade. I think that's going to get a release date. That comes out this year. I think Final Fantasy. What's interesting, like I've seen a lot of push for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I'm kind of conflicted because you have 16 coming in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, right? Maybe it's a little bit longer than that, but mid-June. Okay, so because of that, do you not show Rebirth or talk about it or do anything until Final Fantasy 16 releases? I could absolutely understand that, and if that is the reason, I get it. But at the same time, again, like I'm just looking at it for the simple fact of we haven't seen anything largely from Sony in, I mean, yes, they've had those state of plays, but like this size, this scale, 2 years. Okay, so like, yeah, you don't have to show it, but like, are we getting a showcase another one before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out? I doubt it. I would bet money against it actually at this point. So, you know, it's either now or, I mean, you just do your own events, or you do like a state of play or something for it. But I do think that makes a lot of sense. Last of Us Factions is something we've talked about as well. I think that'll be a really big one. You know, I was mentioning earlier, if you're going to give a lot of time to a game, what could those games be? Spider-Man, I think, is absolutely one of them, and really one of the only ones. And I do think Last of Us, the multiplayer, it's time. As we've said, like, does it come out like a stealth release, like an early access or a beta? I'm kind of warming up to the idea of a beta, right? If they say, okay, well, the game releases in 2024, which would make me upset, because I really thought this game could maybe make this year. That they say, okay, 2024 is when this game is coming out, but we're going to have some sort of beta this year in 2023, so you guys will be able to try it. I think that's kind of the best of both worlds. That's not uncommon for a game like this, literally at all. I think Twisted Metal, it would be not 100% similar, but somewhere in the same vein. I do think there's a Twisted Metal game. Now, what's odd is I saw a thing on Twitter going around, is it a mobile game? Because there's some indication that Twisted Metal game could be a mobile game. I've always assumed it was just like it was a AAA, but it was a live service, right? It's just maybe a free-to-play or just a live service game in general. I never thought it was a mobile game. I really pray to I would advise you guys to pray to whatever God you believe in and ask for it to not be a mobile game. But I do think we'll see it. Like, 1,000%. I think Twisted Metal is a lock to be at this event. And then just kind of briefly, I'm sure I'm missing things, by the way. Okay, this is just kind of, I'm going off script. I'm just kind of talking about one thing, moving to the next. Like I said, this is what the pre-show tomorrow is kind of for in terms of the live stream. Talking about third parties. So, you know, we mentioned Mortal Kombat probably maybe not being there. I do think we're going to get third parties. I think even like word on the street is third party games are going to be there. But with Mortal Kombat off, you know, obviously, like, for me, Persona 6 would ignite the world. That would be like one of my biggest takeaways from the show, is if they announced Persona 6. I still take the under on it. I still don't think it's going to happen. I know there's been a lot of people wanting, and myself included, we're all kind of part of the community. Kingdom Hearts 4. I think that could work, absolutely. But again, you know, does it make sense for it to be here? I mean, I guess, but it's really, that one's also, I think, 50-50. I think Kingdom Hearts 4 could appear there before Persona 6 does, but I still wouldn't necessarily bet on either of them. But this one is a lot tougher, because I just think you're probably going to get one maybe two. Like, you could get like a brand new game announcement that's a third party game, and it could just be announced because of this PlayStation showcase, right? And maybe it's got some sort of exclusivity, it's got a deal, right, 1 year on PlayStation. Like, I'm sure we will get some of those. I mean, it's hard to predict games that don't exist yet, right? If it's coming from like a third party thing, but I'm sure there'll be like one or two things. But, you know, and honestly, when they announced the showcase and they talked about PSVR 2, they talked about third-party games, and they talked about, you know, their own. I've always said, I mean, this is really, I believe in showing it all, because, again, you don't do this all that often, but also the flip side of that is because you don't do it all that often, I think it needs to really start and end with your own games, right? You can show, like, maybe Pragmata. I think that's a good one. If Little Devil Inside is not here, that game is dead and doesn't exist anymore, in my mind. I think other people's mind. But so, you know, you have those kind of games. But, I mean, you really, I think, got to focus on the Spider-Mans, the Wolverines. You know, if the Cory Barlog's going to show his game, I don't think there'd be, like, a Horizon tease or anything. So that would be out. Last of Us. Can you bring back, I mean, can we get one absolutely like oddball thing where like Infamous comes back or Sly Cooper comes back? Like, that would be the thing to me that would really, you know, be amazing. But, you know, if you can just get one or so of those, that would be great. And then, yeah, you're gonna have your third party games, but those I don't know if they'll make or break you. I guess, like, is Final Fantasy 16 technically a third party game? Then yeah, I guess those things can make a pretty big impact. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, I'm sure I'm missing some of them. I probably should have wrote it down, but you know what? I live life on the edge. I'm not going to do that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Join me for the live stream, and we'll probably talk a lot more about it. And then let's go. Let's get this showcase going. And really just a kickoff, right? Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Showcase, the Ubisoft Forward, all of those I'll be streaming and covering. So it's an exciting time to be around. It really, really is. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.